Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to another installment of Show to V with Mike G, the show of life, the show of tequila, the show of drumming, starting a company, and finally being appreciated and recognized as a master distiller of tequila. Today is a great interview. I called this the story of Tromba Tequila. I had both Rodrigo and Marco Cedano, the creators of Tromba Tequila, come into Austin recently, and we sat down, sipped, talked about life. And man, what a life Marco has had. He's been in this industry a very long time, thinks about tequila production in a different way, and it's really a refreshing way to look at this. So for those of you who haven't had Tromba just yet, it's worth a shot, pun intended. So without further ado, I hope you guys enjoy this great chat with Marco and Rodrigo Cedano of Tromba Tequila. So you guys have, most of the time when people from agave industry come into Texas, they're here for a day. They're here for maybe 2 days. But you guys have had a really nice stay so far. So Marco, how are you enjoying Austin so far?
Well, very well. But it's a lot of warm.
Yeah.
But the people is very nice. It's they are amazing by the way they receive the story and everything. Yeah,
Muchos amigos aquí.
muchos
¿sí?
amigos.
So it's a very open place. Rodrigo, do you feel the same way about? And this could be anywhere in Texas. We're very hospitable, but it's been pretty open and warm and friendly for you.
Yeah, very, very friendly. I mean, it doesn't feel like you're abroad.
Yeah.
You know, like we enjoy the same things. Probably it's an industry thing.
Sure.
Probably not. But we have a wonderful host, which is Jessica. And I think she's like surrounded by a lot of friends.
Yeah.
So it's just normal, you know, like
no strangers at all.
no strangers, exactly.
Yeah. And you guys were just at Midnight Cowboy doing was it a soft launch, a cocktail party?
Well, it was a training.
Okay.
And we also had how do you call it? Texas food.
Oh, yeah.
Barbecue. Texas barbecue.
Yeah. How was it? Did you like that?
Yeah. Very good.
That's very good, right?
Where'd
you guys get barbecue from? Cooper's. Ah, I love the brisket.
It's so good.
It's so much salt, and maybe that's why I won't live very long. But I don't care. It tastes really, really good.
You'll die happy.
That's right. Some agave and some salty brisket. That's not so bad, right? It could be worse. So when I was reading up on this vast history of, one, the brand Tromba, but two, as you individuals, Marco, you grew up in Sonora?
Yeah.
What was that experience like? Is it very, very metropolitan? Is it very, very more urbane, like kind of out in the country?
Como ciudad o era pueblo, es como que Sonora.
Was a small city when I lived there, but now it's not small. It is growth. But most of my time was in Guadalajara. From 11 years old, I was in Guadalajara.
The interest in engineering, does that come from your father or your mother? Or was it something unique?
Not really. My father was a technical mind.
Yeah.
But the chemical for me was very, very interesting. From when I was young, how the things was doing, how the process pass on the nature or everything there.
Always thinking.
Always thinking, yeah.
Were you good at math?
Not much.
No?
No, not much, really. But I am interested in everything that means logical thinking.
Yeah.
And I think it's the basement of the math.
That's right. The process.
The process.
1,
Yeah.
2, 3.
Yeah, right.
So the move to Guadalajara, the whole family moved?
Yeah, the whole family, because my bigger brother wants to study architecture,
Oh, okay.
and in Hermosillo at that time wasn't not in the university,
Yeah.
and then we moved to Guadalajara, all the family.
Did you feel any pressure to go to university to study more?
Oh, no.
Sometimes,
Sometimes,
I
maybe.
wonder, because especially when you have a son in the industry, I've met many people who own companies and their sons are the next one to come, but sometimes they feel like they have to do that.
All the time I want to have a engineer son,
Yeah.
but no one wants. They tell me then they don't crazy. And well, finally, he is now in the industry, and he's good. He's not an engineer, but he's good.
It's funny because Rodrigo is a drummer, and so drums is kind of like a process.
Yeah,
but he found potentially his way to integrate that 1, 2, 3, 4 in this case, or 1, 2, 3.
The time, yeah. That's it's good, I think, because the drummers helps.
Yeah. Oh, geez.
Helps to be a better thinking, logical way.
It really does.
I think so.
Did you ever think that you would, or rather, what did you think you would use the engineering for? Was it chemical engineering? Was it electrical engineering?
Well, when I start, the chemical engineering was the first in my way to do the thing.
Yeah.
So chemical is a lovely process for me, but the second one can be mechanical. Yeah, because I like the machines too, and how to know how the function is, or how to design it, or something like that.
Yeah,
that's interesting too.
It is.
Yeah,
and both of these things you use a lot in tequila production.
Yeah,
but did you ever think that the first job you had out of college, that wasn't in tequila, was it?
Oh yeah, my first job was in tequila. Tequila Tres Magueyes was when I start.
Really?
Yeah.
How old were you when you started there?
When?
¿Cuántos años? How old?
¿Cuántos años tenías tú cuando empezaste?
Oh well, I was 23.
23. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Just when I finished the university, and then I worked there for near to 2 years.
Yeah.
And I left the company, and I go into another kind of industries, because I was very inquieto.
Ambitious?
Eager.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Eager, and wants to know more about the technology, about the machines, about the process. And then I was in many industries, and chemical and food and mines.
Yeah.
And minas, see?
Mining industry.
Yeah. Mining, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started with a new job for me, for myself, but I broken, and then start again. And 10 years after I left the Tres Magueyes company in tequila, I returned to the same, to Tres Magueyes.
So I read many tequileros, master distillers, businessmen in general have pretty bios on the internet, biographies, right?
Yeah.
And it says that in 1985, you returned or came to Don Julio as master distiller. Is that how, does the history check out correct?
Was in 1983.
83, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
when I started, exactly August 8, 1983.
Wow, so almost 26th anniversary, 36th anniversary.
Probably, yeah.
Getting very, very close, yeah.
Yeah. And then I started again, and was Tres Magueyes at that time.
Yeah.
And a few years after that, we produced the 100% agave, the name of the company was Don Julio.
Mm.
Was changed to Don Julio.
Oh, so Tres Maguey's turned into Don Julio? Oh, I didn't know
Yeah.
that. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
Tres Magueyes was the initial company that made was ¿cómo se dice? Founded by Don Julio.
Okay, yeah.
Don Julio Gonzalez. He founded the Tres Magueyes, and after when we made the tequila, was changed to Don Julio company.
And it was one of the first, if not the first, 100% agave tequila?
Yeah. When I go into Tres Magueyes in 1974 and in 1983, Don makes 100% agave.
I think Herradura was the only 100% agave back then.
Really?
In the industry, Herradura was the most important 100% agave.
Yeah.
Maybe another ones, but I don't remember who.
Did you have any when was the first time you had an experience with tequila? Was it when you were young? Was it as an adult?
I really don't like me tequila when I was young.
Yeah.
When I go to Tres Magueyes after the university, don't like me the tequila.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What were you drinking? Brandy? Rum?
Brandy. At that time was brandy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's I never was a drinker.
But a thinker.
Yeah, more more thinker than drinker. And then it was I don't know, that time I don't like it, the tequila. I was in this work because maybe I don't know.
The process is fun, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So even when you came back as master distiller, you still didn't really have a taste for tequila. It was more about, I like this process. I like following these steps.
Yeah, I think to be a master distiller like now I am.
Yeah.
I suppose I am.
Do you feel important? You feel big?
Yeah. It's a process like all in the life. Was to be thinker in the first time to once or to know what you want.
Yeah.
And then at that time when I returned in 1983 to Tres Magueyes, I want to make something better than was doing at that time.
Always thinking.
Only thinking. I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
But I thinking we must to change some.
That's very, very smart. Yeah. Innovate. Yeah. Push forward, right?
Right.
How was the state? Right now, we have very good tequila. A lot of very good tequilas available. Mm-hmm. But in the 80s, especially 83 or onto the end of the 80s, how was tequila then? Overall was good? No,
most of them was on a strong tequilas in the alcoholic weight.
Yeah.
And in the flavor and taste was not invite you to drink more.
Push you away.
Yeah. Then when made the tequila at that time, the 100%, the very, very important thing that was different than the other ones was the softener. Was very soft in alcoholic way and in aromas and taste. Then the woman in Mexico start to drink it.
I see.
Because before that, all the tequilas said, "Wow, that's terrible. I don't like it. Tequila, it's very strong. I can be drunk, everything." And with the other one, when I made it, this tequila, the woman in Mexico start to drink and said, "Wow, that's very suavecito." Then they feel better.
It's a different time now. How do you feel about how we drink tequila now? Is it nice to have all of this great tequila around you? Yeah,
now I am drinker of tequila.
Okay.
Normally, I don't drink another thing.
Yeah.
Maybe beer. Maybe with the meals, I like the wine,
Mm-hmm.
red wine normally. But in meetings of our partners of fiestas,
Yeah. Yeah.
I drink tequila normally. And today, fortunately, are many tequilas of good quality
Yeah.
in the market. It's not like in the 80s.
Right.
Today are many tequilas with soft flavors
Yeah,
and everything.
Do you
That's
think
better.
and this is, because you guys are both business people too.
Mm-hmm.
More good tequila, that's good, or is that too confusing for the consumer?
I think it's a lot of confusion because all the tequilas in the market are the better tequila, are the best tequila. All the tequila say,
the best.
I am the best, I am the best, I am the best. But
Yeah.
the people don't know how is the best
Mm.
or why is the best. And the confusion maybe is in the promotion or
Yeah.
advertising. I don't know. But it's a lot of work to have or to put into the mind of the persons,
Mhm.
the personal in distillery and the people on the market. It's very difficult to put the idea of why you are the best
Yeah.
or why you are a good tequila at least.
Because you're right. There's so many.
Yeah.
So this story starts, Rodrigo, with, the blood is in the business, and your father spent so many years, and then Tromba is around. We talk about your past, but that was roughly 2012, I think, something like that. Is that about right?
Yeah, about
Okay.
that. Well,
So you grew up in Guadalajara?
I grew up I was born in Guadalajara, and then we moved to the town of Atotonilco el Alto,
Okay.
which is where the factory was.
Okay.
And then I returned to Guadalajara.
To go to school, or yeah.
Yeah, I returned when I went to, I think it's high school in English.
Yeah.
I'm not too sure. But I was living in this town for about 12 years, I think.
I see.
12 to, around there.
Does my dad he's kind of an entrepreneur and a business guy, so I got some of that stuff from him, But you're, the Tommy Lee type. You're probably a little wild. What kinds of things were you interested in doing in your high school days?
Well, I always been a big fan of this guy, which now I forgot, which is stupid because I just say I'm a big fan.
Music guy?
No.
Yeah.
This Italian inventor. What is the name of it?
Da Vinci?
Da Vinci. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
And the reason I am a big fan is because he did so many things.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was a kid, my dad and my mom put me into like several activities, like music and exercise and martial arts.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was a very fortunate kid, but I never finished any of those, and I kept searching into more of things.
Your dad's like, man, you know how much money I spent on this stuff.
And they were like, if you start something, just finish it.
Yeah.
And in my brain was like, no, because I want to try different things.
Sure.
And so I went into a TV show back in that town. I was in the Red Cross growing up.
Were you an actor?
No. It was like a talk show, like kids.
Okay.
And then I studied theater and so many things because I wanted to,
Breathe it all in.
exactly.
Yeah.
When I was done with basically all the activities you could do in the town,
Yeah.
I realized that there was a difference about what my dad was doing. Like I saw this difference about the guy being the employee
Uh-huh.
and the owners, which I didn't like. Because it's not equal circumstances,
Right.
like different cars, different clothing. And I remember I told to my dad, like, I want to own a factory.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows what
For
that
what?
meant,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I saw that there was a big difference. But I couldn't do that in a town, no offense.
Nice.
And then we moved to the city. Well, I moved back to the city to start studying there in Tec de Monterrey. And then afterwards my university. And then I decided to become an entrepreneur.
Mm.
So I studied, how to export, how to do international marketing while I was, like going Berlin. To high
it's
school.
special in Asian regions too, right? Was that part of the? From what it looks like,
Yeah, and then I decided to why not? I'll start advising people, even though I didn't have experience. But I think that's the first step. Like you have to challenge yourself.
Of course, yeah.
Fortunately for me, it came all right.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them not that right. and I started discovering new things, but it's all about not being sitting down.
I know exactly what you mean. Do you find yourself someone who travels a lot?
Lately, thanks to Tromba, we're traveling more, which is some of the things that I like about this company.
Yeah, because I figure that's part of it, right? You get this idea and it's like, well, but I need to go to Asia and then I need to go to the States. I need to go to Europe because the knowledge,
Actually, my first trip, which I could afford myself in terms of business, was in 2008, and I went to Russia.
Oh, wow.
And I was so nervous. And when we were landing, after we went through the clouds, and then it was in February.
Oh, jeez.
And then I see all white. I'm like, what is a Mexican doing here? I didn't know what to do. Too cold, too weird.
Too weird.
I got there, and then there's a very nice Russian girl who is a friend of a friend. And I was this stupid. I was like, how's the weather outside? And she's like, not too cold. And I'm like, okay, I'm not going to bring my coat,
Oh, jeez.
And I went outside to minus 25 Celsius.
Oh, my gosh.
I was almost dying. And I'm like, she's Russian. Of course it's not that cold. I was freezing in the car. And that's when I realized that traveling is about cultures. And like, okay, I've traveled before, but this was like my first business big trip that I actually could afford for a brand that we had in common as well. And it's like, we need to do this somehow.
And so do you find one of the things that I like about, and maybe this differs because I find that engineers are very structured, which is good because someone's got to get from point A to point C. But do you find that as an entrepreneur that you have that process mind, but you're also really creative, thinking of new things, thinking of new brands, new ideas?
I always hated math. I actually failed.
It's genetic, isn't it?
I failed it like 6 times or something.
Does he know you failed it 6 times?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, good.
And I hated it.
Yeah.
And I didn't like it. Because for me, it was like, like if something didn't work in math, then there's a new rule.
Right.
And I'm like, come on, you're justifying a mistake. And now somebody made it a law of something,
That's right, yeah.
And it's like music. I try piano, I try guitar, I try the organ, but it didn't give me that freedom.
Yeah.
So when I discover percussions and drums, I'm like, okay, now I can express everything.
Really?
So I couldn't express a lot with something really square like an engineer.
Yeah.
At the end, I'm there.
Yeah.
Like I ended up doing basically the same. I specialize in these things called yellow, green, and black belt, which is very for
Six
engineers.
Sigma, right?
Six Sigma and lean manufacturing.
I got brown belt. I can't remember. I got one of them.
It's yellow, green, and black.
Oh, it's yellow. Yellow is the starting one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't want to do black. It takes too long.
I did it, and I was the only dude that surrounded by like big engineers, and they were always bullying me. Yeah,
did you get along with those guys? They think differently, I think.
Totally different.
Yeah,
totally
it's hard
different.
sometimes to have a conversation with them.
Yeah, and even the teacher, I remember he asked something to the classroom. Nobody knew the answer. And then I raised my hand. I explained the answer, and the teacher is like, "Come on, dude! Even this guy knows the answer." And I'm like, "What is that supposed to mean?" It was surrounded by engineers, like,
oh man. Do you feel like it's working with your father that it's a nice blend of structure and creativity? That was not supposed to be a loaded question either. Yeah.
Come on, it's true.
I think it sounds romantic, but we complement each other.
That's good. Yeah.
I think it was tough in the beginning.
Yeah.
Because he's very stubborn. I'm too. So.
At least you know where you get it from.
Yeah.
Exactly. It'd be more frustrating to just, why am I so stubborn all the time? It's like, no, it's him. This guy right here.
But it took time for us to learn, and then we agreed on, like you have your strengths, I have mine. We'll both learn, and that's it.
It's very good. Did you ever think working with the family is a great thing, but was that always on the roadmap for you? You're going to always circle back and you're going to work with the family, or was that something that kind of took you by surprise?
As a good son, I never wanted to end up where the dad was.
That's what I kind of was getting at. Yeah.
You know, I wanted the factory, but at the same time, I didn't want to be in the tequila business.
Yeah.
And then my dad kept telling me that I should be in sales.
And that's a good idea.
Because I'm not the engineer, right?
Yeah, that's right.
But I didn't like that too much.
Yeah.
I did it. I learned a lot, and I really have this level of respect for people that it's in sales.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I started doing other stuff. You know, like that's why I started. I studied business. I wanted to be an advisor for companies. You know, this picture of the guy traveling in a suit. I just love it.
Oh, you do like that stuff.
But then I realized that it was dumb not to use what somebody else built. You know, because he's the tree. He's the roots.
Absolutely.
You can shape the tree or you can make it grow.
Yeah.
And then I saw that nobody in the industry was doing anything. I mean, I didn't do it because of that, but I've seen all the engineers, classmates of my dad, who are the big master distillers. None of their sons or daughters follow the path.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we're wasting a great story and we're wasting a lot of knowledge and somebody's got to get it.
Yeah.
And I like business, so we can, you know.
It's a very shrewd way to think, because it's saying I still am going to use my natural talents as someone who can be good socially, can travel, can sell, but I understand the heritage of which I come from. It's a humbling thing to do, because lots of people.
And it took time.
Yeah, I'm sure. How long would you say it took before you were really on board to?
Well,
collaborate?
since I think about 10 years.
Oh, wow.
I think more than 10 years.
Yeah.
You started at 18 with the Venezuela rum.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
18. I'm 34 now. So, yeah, it took time.
Yeah.
It took time.
But that's good, because if you didn't, maybe you would go head first into something that you really didn't want to do.
Exactly.
So it makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
I think about the persona of your father and he's bound to be recognized in Guadalajara and in tequila. Is that the case? You know, like, so if Jessica and I go into a bar in Austin, right? We've been here long enough to where it's like, oh, hey, you know, we're shaking hands and kissing babies and all of that. But for your father, was it the same kind of respect and reverie that the community had for him? Did you see that when you were out?
No.
Okay.
Actually, I'm not sure if I'm supposed to say it, but I'm going to say it. My dad was always behind the scenes, and the companies that have hired him before, even the big company, they erase him from the map.
Wow.
Because the master distiller is not important at all. You know, it's about the owner or
the story.
It's story.
Yeah.
So he was always on the back, and that's one of the reasons I decided I'm gonna have my own stuff, because I don't like to be in the back. And he basically changed the industry of tequila by being stubborn.
Yeah.
Nobody's recognizing his job. You know, so I was kind of mad at the same time. So back at home, he's famous among engineers.
Yeah.
He's famous among, you know, like behind the scenes, but he's starting to get famous now because of this brand.
Mm-hmm.
But there's not such recognition.
But, Marco, do you enjoy the being recognized now as a distiller?
Well, finally, yes. Yeah, I never be in that position.
Yeah.
And then this is strange for me.
Yeah.
But I enjoy in the last 2-3 years was great.
Did you ever think that back when you were younger that was something that was missing for you, that you wanted the recognition? Did you even know that you wanted?
I never think of that.
Yeah.
I never.
He's an engineer.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Sorry, engineers.
Thank you.
That's the PR part of the process, right? Like a different.
Yeah, I think I was.
That answers it pretty good.
I think like an engineer, the only thing important is to make it something good.
Yeah.
Or something very good designed, or something who makes a change.
Yeah.
To someone, something.
Yeah. So what do you process? Because we'll keep driving on this. Of course, we'll talk about this serendipitous moment where you meet some Canadians, if I recall, and then this brand is born. But to talk about something, because it's so engineering focused, tequila comes from a raw material, the piña. The piña only has so much potential to give you sugar and to give you alcohol. So engineers, which I make no judgment about diffuser, but process is process. I just think it's an interesting way to create efficiencies. So the process of kind of engineering your way into better yields with less expensive products, is that something that had to happen? It was a necessity, or was it because the process kept growing and kept evolving? Does that make sense?
I think it does. We've never compromised the quality versus cost.
Sure.
With this specific brand, my dad set up a rule of no huevos in the kitchen. So my business partners. So, we all have positions within the company. Whenever they're like, "Oh, come on," and the yield, we're like, not good enough. So I'm not gonna sacrifice anything.
Yeah. Versus
the flavor, because that was something we were looking for. Like, get some product out there that is good. So why would you screw it? Because of cost.
Sure, of course.
So I don't know if I'm answering the question, but
well, I mean, I'd be a little more direct. Is just the general usage, even though it's done for engineering reasons and cost reasons, is diffuser tequila taste as good?
Oh, okay. That was the question.
That was a little tangential, but yeah.
Well, not like you said. It's a question of yield.
Yeah.
And obviously, with the diffuser, you can have the real flavor than the people think it's in the tequila, because the caramelization you have when you're cooking in any oven or autoclave, you have it in the diffuser. Then this caramelization, that substance that made the caramel and produce another substance on the fermentation and transform another substance during the distillation, you haven't in the diffuser. Then
you don't have it.
You don't have it.
Right.
Sorry.
Or you have something else that you didn't want because you've added acid or whatever, right?
It's called the Maillard reaction.
The Maillard reaction, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You don't have that.
The Maillard reaction is the reaction happens when you cook the bread, for example. When you put it brownie the bread, it's a reaction of that kind. No?
Yeah.
It's the same with the agaves and then well, like you said, once the process they choice, but then the traditional way to make the tequila, I think is richer in flavors and tastes.
Yeah, if you take shortcuts, you tend to get lesser flavor. I mean, that's how it works if you try to, bananas. So you know how they ship them to the States and they're green, and they let them kind of ripe here, but they should always be vine ripe, and it tastes different. So it's one of those things. A lot of people attack it, and I can understand why, but I still think from an engineering perspective, it's interesting. You're backed into a corner and you got $5. You got to make dinner for a week. It's just like these kinds of puzzles. But for you, the quality and the flavor trumps anything else.
Yeah. Fortunately, I lost some of the engineer I had, and on the way of the life, and I lost some engineer I have.
Yeah.
And start to think in the other way, that
compassion, sociology, and
more social, more about what thinking the people who is drinking or eating some. Then it's the market vision.
Yeah.
And then that's helped me the last years to be a better social engineer.
Yeah. Well, it's a good growth. And I can't imagine what happens as you guys grow more similar. I can't imagine the heads will butt. We're like this, right? Well, so we're here because it's not a new brand, but it is socially a little bit new to Austin, given Jessica's kind of bringing it in and introducing Tromba. But from what I understand loosely about the brand is that you is it Mr. Brass? Is that the correct? Is it Chris Brass? Is that
Yeah, Eric.
Eric Brass. Thank you. Is he from Ontario? Is that right? Something like that. Somewhere in Canada.
Yep.
Anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And how did that kind of meeting happen? Where you started to talk about a brand or started to talk about tequila?
Well, it happened that they were studying in the same university that I was.
Oh, so you're students together?
Not really together.
Okay.
But we were in the same, like generation.
Class or
sort
whatever.
of.
Oh, cool.
And when they tasted tequila back then, they realized that the tequila in Mexico was nothing like they had in Australia and in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
So like we sort of met, and then they came back to their countries and they talk about making this great brand. They start looking for the like the best master distillers in town, and they asked somebody that took to somebody else, and at the end, by sort of like an accident, they arrived into our office, and I opened the door, and they were like, "How you doing, mate?" The Australian.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "What are you doing here?" And you're like, "Well, they said that you guys
sent
make the
us
best
here,
tequila,"
right?
and I'm
Yeah.
like, "Well, you're damn right,"
Yeah.
And they came with this idea of making precisely the best tequila, and we're like, we don't make the best tequila, but we can try. And for us, it was, especially for my dad, seeing the passion in Eric from Canada, Jimmy and Nick from Australia, that he had when he was younger. And for me, it was more like also the passion, but they had these other eyes from other markets that we needed to, like graduate.
Get some insights, right? Yeah.
Yeah, because as I said, like we did travel obviously with family and stuff, and we did business before, and also like a lot of things. But when they come with these eyes, different perspectives, you're like, okay, this is the perfect complement for all of us. We're friends. We like good stuff. They're living as a kitchen for us to cook, and we're living them what they're good to do as well. They have the connections, the relations. They have this passion to do it. So after like a couple of days in talking and we were like, okay, let's do it.
Let's figure something out. What? So I'm a little unclear. The brand of tequila that you had, was that Tromba as well? Same brand name or a different brand name?
No, a different brand.
What was that brand called? I'm just curious.
Well, we had different.
Multiple.
La Forja was one of them, and then we had Gran Sol, and
the Marco,
the Marco liquors, and other brands that we have.
Oh, so you guys have worked together on a lot of different projects.
But
But never before was the challenge raised to say, okay, well, we'll make the best one.
Yeah, exactly.
What changed in you to make that happen? What kinds of things were you thinking about differently or that you hadn't considered before?
Well, it's about timing sometimes. Like the time it took for us to learn how to work together. And then things start coming into place in the right way. Like I knew we had the knowledge of making a great product.
Yeah.
I knew we had the knowledge of how to operate a business in Mexico, like the suppliers, the contacts, everything. I knew we need somebody out there trying to raise the boys. And I didn't know how to do that. Like how do you deal with a stubborn engineer to make him appear in front of the scene instead of the back? And you have an idea, sort of.
I mean, he's laughed so much. I'm so surprised. He's got a good sense of humor and everything. What have you done? Your father is transformed from being in the lab,
But everything started like coming into place. Like
some
things that I did or had a conversation with my dad, and now it like makes sense because like people coming with broad new ideas. So it was like just timing.
Yeah.
In order for us to, how do you say that? Like explode.
That's right.
Abilities, exploded stuff.
You ever heard the word synergy?
Yeah,
we
exactly.
use that.
Exactly.
It's that word we use it, but that's ultimately what it is, right? Serendipity. Yes. These things kind of happening all at one time. And this is this roughly 2012? I think when this meeting happens, at least
probably before
something
that.
like that. Before that.
Yeah.
So when does the word Tromba show in print on a bottle? When's that first baby come out of labor?
You mean like tangible stuff?
Tangible, yeah.
I think it was, Jimmy knows the date by heart, but I don't. It was 2000. I don't
just
remember.
year-wise.
Yeah, I think it was between 2012 or I think it was in the 12.
Yeah,
2012. I think so.
Yeah,
wow.
2012. After like sitting and looking at so many designs of the shape of the bottle and discussing like which one, why. We talked to our friends. We put it on Facebook so they could vote, and it was very simple, basic way of deciding.
Yeah,
and we were clear about the neck that is comfortable for the bartenders to grab it.
Yeah, it's a great. I mean, the way you displace the weight and stuff makes
for the rail and stuff, but it was very basic.
Yeah,
kind of.
Well, sometimes when things are right, they're easy.
Yeah.
When you have relationships that are really strained all the time, that just doesn't work out, But it's cool to have creative tension, but just having things moving along and
it was cool because we had like at 10 a.m. in the morning, we had beers and whiskey and rum and tequila, and we didn't get.
You guys are hiring, right?
But
you guys are hiring,
yes.
Right? Like,
welcome on board. And I remember we had like this chicken and potatoes and stuff that our friends love, and so it was just fun, weird, but fun.
Well, that's weird cultures kind of yield cool results like that, So then this importing agreement, I guess, with De Cooper, right? Is that still who's importing the product now?
Here in the United States?
In the United States.
It's Park Street. Yeah, Park Street is the importer.
Oh, go Park City. Great. Okay. Or Park Street. Sorry. That's great. So when did that kind of start to happen? When did you start seeing an influx of the bottles in Texas and other parts of the States?
Well, Texas is like new. We're just launching.
We're so close.
Yeah.
We should have been the first one.
we started launching it in, if my memory doesn't fail, I think we started in Chicago and New York.
Okay.
That's where we started. Like we took Chicago as a test market, if that's the word, and it went really well, especially in cocktails and stuff.
Yeah.
Then New York, and then we started to try California, and then surprise, Miami is great, right. Florida is great, and then we decided to come into Texas, which is basically months ago, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, super. I mean, I feel very, very privileged to catch you guys on this. Like the beginning of the chapter,
it's so good. ...
And we landed in Austin. So it's very, very good. So I've been sipping the Blanco, and I like it. There's a different structure to it for me. I actually like, it's a little more angular, but in a really defined way. The language I use with spirits sometimes is interesting. But so walk me through the process for the Blanco. Are you guys doing, resting it in stainless for a little while? Does it touch a barrel at all? Any of that stuff?
Basically, we are very cautious about how we do the HEMA in the fields. For example, we want to have like a medium HEMA, which means leaving like 2 centimeters, 2.5 centimeters of the leaves, so you can have these herbal flavors in it.
Sure.
The other thing we do is we're very cautious with the way we cook our agave. As my dad said it, like when you make a syrup with water and sugar, if you overcook it, it's bitter. If you do it right, it's really sweet. So we actually take care of how we interact with the agave, how we put it in the oven, so we can have the right cooking.
And it's a stainless oven, or no? Or
right now we're doing it in a traditional oven.
Okay, cool.
Traditional oven, and then our yeast is very important as well. But I think when we distill, we do heads and tails in both distillations.
Oh, good. Okay.
And we do distillations that are about 77 Fahrenheit, which is 26 Celsius.
Okay.
Which is cold enough to grab as much of the flavor.
Yeah.
We distill in copper right now.
Cool.
And we don't put it in barrels. The right thing to do is let it rest a little bit,
Let those oils do the thing.
But we don't have the time to do that. So it just goes into the bottles.
But that's good being honest about it. Because it doesn't taste unrested. It doesn't taste stiff as some spirits right off the still will taste, And I think that's a really interesting concept to do lower temperature, because you're not using the heat to push up other things that just are heavier into the still, like peated whiskey, right? Which they do that on purpose to push some of these things. But it's very light, but it's crispy. I like it. It's not... I'm very much a mezcal guy because of the crazy cheese flavor, the stone flavors you can get, tropical fruit. But I'm not a real fan of the peppery flavor of blue agave. But this is nice. This is crisp. I don't get a lot of spice from it. It's very, very round, but it's like it hits you in certain ways, and you can see it on your tongue. It's really, really nice. So there's a I guess I'm so lucky because I have multiple bottles of tequila in front of me, right?
Yes.
But the reposado American oak? Do you guys take in this kind of the regular
White
root there?
white oak barrels. Sorry, those are barrels that come from Jack Daniels.
Oh, killer.
We bought them from them, and it depends. Like the reposado can be in the barrel for 6 to 8 months, 6 to 9 months, depends on what we like. Like we actually don't let anything go into a bottle that we don't like. And
so off the still, if it's bad, you guys, it's not going into a barrel.
Yeah,
oh, that's good.
And for example, in the barrels, something that we like to do is barrel it at 86 proof.
Oh, you barrel at 86
instead of 110 or 100. Because my dad likes to have a slow extraction in the barrel. And also we don't have that much money to use a lot of barrels.
Hey, all of us in this room, we're dealing with the same thing. Yeah.
And also when you dilute from 86 to 80 proof, you put almost no water at all, so you preserve the flavors.
All the liquid gets contact.
Exactly.
Words, right? Yeah, exactly. It makes perfect sense.
And we like our product to be like, you should be able to taste the blanco in the repo and a little bit of wood.
Yeah.
We don't like to taste it like just wood.
Marco, which do you prefer, the blanco, the reposado, añejo? Which one do you like?
All the time I prefer the blanco. But it's a problem with my brain because I am comparing all the time and I check in all the time. But the blanco for me is the true tequila flavor. That's
natural beauty.
Yeah.
No makeup, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And then in Tromba, the añejo, it's very nice.
Same barrels? The Jack Daniels? Yeah.
But I drink any. There's no problem. I start with blanco and until I am in the eating reposado, and I finish with añejo.
That's very fair of you. You won't turn it down. They're all welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah, the repos, it's good. I love the concept, and I try never to get too nerdy about the spirit stuff on the podcast or too detailed. But you know what? When you think about, just to your point, Rodrigo, if you take something and you add a bunch of water to it, you know what I mean? Like it simply just dilutes the things that are good. So if you get everything touching that barrel, that makes so much more sense. And even the water used to proof it down and all of that all makes contact. So it's very, very good. And the Blanco's 80 proof?
Yeah, it is. It is 80 proof. You want to try this?
All of this.
I mean, another person's offered me, of course.
Yeah. Come on, just
read
the rep. I'll wait for you.
Oh, well, that's you guys are also very kind to wait for me. But this is, how has the reception been? Because it seems like it's very reasonably priced. It tastes good in a cocktail, and it tastes good by itself. People in Texas, people in Chicago, you said, are especially enjoying it.
I would say so. I mean, they like they like all of them, but you could see that they actually like their faces. They're actually quite honest, and because when somebody's like, "This is delicious," you can actually see that they're honest about it. So I think the reception is very well. And whenever we are making cocktails or doing something really easy like a tromba and soda, and that's it.
That's good.
And they're like, "Wow, this is so easy, but so delicious."
Yeah.
So I think the reception is being really well.
It's good. These have been really, really nice. And because again, I'm not a huge. I like tequila, but I don't like the pepper. Some reason that just maybe that's a result of certain scorching on the pinion, whatever, man. But this is right there, right in the middle, like exactly where I kind of want it to hit my palate. So you guys are new to market. There's lots of brands. What would you say is maybe the mission and the thing you could tell me, the things you could tell any other stranger in a bar that makes Tromba different? That's in the business plan, probably, right?
It is in the business plan, but I'm trying to say it in a different way. I mean, probably you're talking to the wrong guy, because what we usually tell people is, we're going to tell you how we make it. You'll judge if you like it.
I see.
It's not our job to tell you, this is the best.
Yeah.
Probably my business partners will be very mad when hearing this. But
Australians don't have tempers. Canadians definitely don't have tempers, so I don't even worry about it.
But I think, I don't know, ¿cuál crees que sea la misión de Tromba? ¿O qué le puedes decir como la misión?
Pues la misión de Tromba debe ser tener un buen tequila en el mundo sin necesidad de adornarlo de otra cosa.
He says the goal for my dad is having a good tequila in the world without all the marketing and arrangements around it. Like simply, it's
humility,
yeah,
simplicity.
Like I can tell you, we're not a marketing build brand.
Yeah,
it's about our story. It's not about let's sit down and think about what we're gonna sell. Like we are the story.
Mm-hmm.
We've been through it. I've been there since I'm 8 years old. We've been growing. We don't have the need to lie. We don't have the need to put caramel color in a product or glycerin because we know obviously how to make it because of my dad. I'm still learning, obviously.
Sure.
We just need to put it out there, and according to the numbers, well, people liked it in the last 7 years. 6-7 years. So for us personally, I think it's just do things right. Like my dad always, when he tries a tequila that is very awful, he always says like how did they make this stuff? Like it's easier to make a good tequila than a bad tequila.
That no truer words of it. If you do things the right way and in an honest way, usually the results are very good.
Yeah, but that is more than a discipline. When you make the things well, and you teach to the people how to do it, it's easier to the people to make the same thing in the right way than to making different things at different times, and then this is crazy.
Yeah,
that is because I said it's easier to be a good tequila or good brandy or a good steak than to do no good.
Yeah,
it's okay, or bad.
Yeah,
It's more than discipline, more than process, more than this.
There's a lot of ego sometimes, challenging ourselves to do things we have no business doing that we know won't be good.
Exactly.
And that's kind of to your point.
And that's one of the other things we like to do when, it's your company, right? So you'll see, if you go to our headquarters in Mexico, you'll see pretty much 9 girls and 2 guys.
Yeah.
We have a lot of team members. We have diversity. We like to treat them well.
Yeah.
We like them to have a good way of living and a good amount of recognition. And we don't hide anything. Like Jessica, I've seen it. Like you go there and you ask whatever you want to ask, and you'll be answered.
Yeah.
And we do the same thing with our personnel. It's not like, oh, we're the master distillers, so don't ask. It's the other way around. It's like, what do you want to know, and we'll explain.
Yeah. Well, if you got nothing to hide, you got nothing to hide, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And we're actually training people in our team that can know what we know, and we are not afraid of that.
Yeah. I think that's really good. Again, it comes down to being humble and being unafraid of what people will think. Because if you do it honestly, you're never afraid of being arrested, right?
No matter.
I'm never looking over my shoulder. You do things the right way. So I got a couple questions left for you before you're off to your next stop on this press tour. Marco, this is like a rock star tour, a rock and roll tour.
I don't know.
Are you holding? How's it feel? Because you're in your late 60s, right?
Yeah.
How's it feel being on the road and the meeting people? I'm sure is fun, but does it tire you out?
Well, yeah. One thing, and I am feeling in the last times is I am doing the best of the work. My son works on the distillery and the people and with the money and and I am just talking with the people, drinking or any.
Yeah.
And then it's the best way to.
That's how I want to spend my. Yeah.
Yeah.
If I wrote it down right now, that's a goal. For 20, 30 years. Just to talk to people and chat about life. Yeah, right. So in terms of long-term plans, there is, and I use this word lightly, but a succession plan. Rodrigo, do you become master distiller? Do you have interest in taking that? If your father chooses to retire and drink more with people and talk on the road, right?
Well,
I would support it. 100%, yes.
Thank you.
Well, I'll have to wait until I have a bigger belly and mustache and gray hair
The mustache.
Become the master distiller. I think that's never gonna happen.
Does that even interest you?
What
To be behind, in the lab and making the tequila all the time?
I love being in the factory. I love learning. I don't think my dad will ever retire until he dies.
Yeah.
Because he likes to do experiments. Sure. So all the time he will be behind us.
Yeah.
We've discussed it before, and like father-son chat. And whenever he dies, I said like I had to get the knowledge.
Mm-hmm,
I mean, not that I want him dead,
no,
obviously,
of course,
but
the tequila preserves
eventually
you.
will happen.
It's eyebrows.
No, we remember we talk about it like like
it's not Hamlet. We're not talking about Hamlet or something.
Yeah. So eventually, hopefully, I'll be there.
Yeah.
Being the second edition of it.
Yeah.
Not as good as him, I guess, but it is my job right now to ask as much why as possible, so I can get it. But I don't think he will ever retire. And he's been having tons of surgeries. So I think he's gonna last for another 200 years. So we're gonna have them around the factory, and yeah, man. Like hopefully I'll be there. I love being there. I also love traveling.
Yeah.
And so if possible, I will keep doing both things. The business side and the fun part, which is being here with you and traveling and drinking responsibly.
Of course, yeah.
Probably.
I mean, I don't know how you drink responsibly with a dangerous mustache like your dad's got. That's that things are going to get unruly after some time, bro. So the last question, I'll get two last questions for you guys. And I asked this of everybody on the show, and I'll start with you, Rodrigo. Mm-hmm. You are sipping the Tromba Blanco anywhere in the world, doesn't matter where. And you can have a sip with anybody, living or deceased. Who would you love to just sit there and sip tequila with and talk about life?
Oh man,
it's a tough one, and it changes, based on what you're listening to, what you're watching. There is no right answer either. If you,
it's a weird question because it could be like, who do you actually want, or who do you miss?
Both were. I think that's a great point. Yeah, it's a great nuance to it.
If I could modify your question,
Sure.
I would love to have a drink with my grandfather, because I know he Pancho, like I know he loved drinking tequila, and the last part I saw of the guy was him falling asleep. So I couldn't talk that much, and I was younger, so there's a lot of things that I would like to ask him, about his past and how he drank and why, because he had this routine of getting there, drinking a Coke with tequila and stuff. So that's one part, and who I would enjoy drinking with. Probably the Rat Pack, Frank Sinatra, Sammy Davis,
Davis Jr. Yeah. Dean Martin.
Dean Martin.
Yeah.
I think they were hilarious, and I would just love sharing a drink with those guys because I of what I've seen, they drank a lot.
I just hope you could walk out of there.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not sure that I could. Hearing story, did you know Quincy Jones is?
Yes.
Did you hear this thing he was talking about, the Rat Pack?
Yeah.
He actually detailed how much they drank in a couple of hours. I was like, okay, the math doesn't add up for me. I can't do that. I can't hang out with the Rat Pack.
I'll tell you, one of the happiest days in my life was when we were in Chicago and we went to a restaurant where Frank used to sit down.
Oh yeah.
I just sat down and smiled and took a picture. Because Frank was there.
Oh man.
So yeah, that would be my answer.
Yeah, there was this last bit just on the Sinatra, but you shook Sinatra's hand. You know what that means. That's from Ocean's 13. Mm-hmm. It's like this sign of trust and this sign of being classic and legend, all the same.
Elegant,
exactly. So Marco, same question for you. Who would you like to have a sip with?
Perdón.
Que si pudieras compartir un trago con alguien, muerto o no muerto, ¿con quién sería?
Wow. Bueno, si pudiera sería con mi padre. Pero él murió hace muchos años, entonces a él le gustaba mucho el tequila y le hubiera encantado tomar un buen tequila. Él era de Guadalajara, de hecho. Él nació en Guadalajara, entonces hubiera sido muy bonito para mí poder compartir algo que a él le gustaba y que a mí me gustó hacer, ¿no?
He says, if I could, I would do it with my dad, but he passed away so many years ago. And he's from Guadalajara and he liked tequila a lot, so it would have been really pretty to share a moment of something he liked
Mm-hmm.
and that I made.
Did your dad ever taste any of the tequila you made?
He?
Yeah.
No, never.
No, he never did.
No, he never, because I started in the industry after he died.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean that'd mean a whole lot to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean this is why I asked the question, because it can go so many
Oh,
different
you moved so many
directions.
things, man.
Yeah, and it's good. It's a good thing. I've got comparatively my answers are rubbish. They're just not quite as good.
Who would you do it with?
Oh man, I was just it's so tough. I've been watching there's a modern actor named Thomas Hayden Church, right? So he was in Sideways. You ever seen the movie Sideways?
No.
So now this changes. So like this wouldn't be my be all end all, because my grandfather, I never drank with him, but he was quite fond of scotch, as I've been told. But no, there's certain modern actors I think they'd be really nice to sip and drink tequila with. But since I asked the question, I don't know, 10, 20 times a month, it just changes from every single time.
Of course.
So for right now, I wish my mom drank. She stopped drinking in her 30s. She says it was going to be a problem, and I don't think so. She would have been very, very fun. So the last question for you guys, what's next? Are you going to another city in Texas, or are you heading back after this? Not right after, but this week.
Mm-hmm.
We're going back home in 3 days more.
Mm.
Yeah. Straight home after a long visit abroad home. So yeah, no more, we're just gonna go back. No more cities from
Get some rest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jessica. No, it's great. It's great. But we're gonna go back and hopefully come back soon too.
Yeah. Well, I'd love to see you guys again, and I think that there's so much to be said about the quality of this tequila and just how you guys are. I get the privilege of meeting so many people via Jessica and via other folks in the industry, and honestly, like Marco, my plan for retirement is to do this all the time, just to have people over and sip tequila. So, Rodrigo, Marco, thank you so much for joining me, and I hope I see you guys soon in Guadalajara. Yeah.
Yes, you should come and we'll record something on a studio.
Okay. My pants are staying on, Rodrigo. I'm just telling you right now.
Play something.
Oh, I'll sing and I'll bring the guitar down.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I meant.
You have a much cleaner mind than I do. Thank you for that. Talk to you guys soon. Bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
So there we have it. What do you guys think? Father and son duo, both Marco and Rodrigo of Tromba Tequila. It's cool having them both here in the same room, watching the interplay, the business-mindedness, the science-mindedness. And I'm glad that they had a great time in Texas, kind of debuting the product, hanging out, eating some barbecue. It's really a pleasure to get to chronicle this stuff. There's not a lot of people traveling into Texas necessarily for agave. And so it's great to sit down and chat and sip some fine tequila. So thanks everybody for listening to Show to V with Mike G. No matter how much you find yourself liking the Red Bull pear-flavored sugar-free, who would have thought? Or if you're watching this new spy show with Sacha Baron Cohen on Netflix, please keep dancing.